All right, today we're cracking the code on multiple sclerosis. For decades, it's been one of the biggest puzzles in medicine. But some recent breakthroughs are finally letting us see the full picture, and it tells this incredible story about our genes, our environment, and a wild case of mistaken identity happening inside our own bodies.
So at its core, MS is a total paradox. The very system that's built to protect you, your immune system, somehow gets its signals crossed. It goes on the offensive, attacking your own central nervous system in this devastating case of friendly fire. But why? What could possibly convince your body's own defenders to turn against you?
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to treat it like a detective story. First up, we'll lay out the mystery. Then we're going to finger the prime suspect. And believe me, it's a shockingly common virus. After that, we'll uncover its accomplices. The other factors that help it do its damage. And then, most importantly, we'll look at how you can start building a powerful defense.
Okay, let's get right into it. MS doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's really the result of a perfect storm, a super complex dance where your genetic makeup collides with specific triggers from the world around you. And it's that collision that really sets the stage for everything that follows. So what exactly is MS? Well, it's an autoimmune disorder where your immune system starts attacking myelin. Think of myelin as the protective insulation that's wrapped around all your nerve fibers, kind of like the plastic coating on a wire. When that myelin gets damaged, the electrical signals that go from your brain to your body get all scrambled, or they slow down, or sometimes they just stop. So this isn't just a little inflammation. It's a direct assault on your body's entire communication network.
Every good detective story needs a prime suspect, right? And in the case of MS, scientists have finally been able to zero in on one. And what's crazy is it's not some rare, exotic virus. It's an incredibly common one that almost all of us will run into at some point in our lives.
Now get this. The evidence here is just overwhelming. A massive study, we're talking 10 million military personnel, found that getting infected with the Epstein-Barr virus, or EBV, jacks up your risk of getting MS by a staggering 32 times. Yeah, 32. The connection is so incredibly strong that scientists now pretty much consider EBV infection a necessary condition. In other words, without EBV, your risk is practically zero.
So how in the world does a common virus trigger such a specific and serious disease? Well, the mechanism is this brilliant but tragic illusion called molecular mimicry. Think of the virus as a master of disguise. It's wearing a protein costume that looks almost identical to a protein that belongs to your own central nervous system. And this is exactly how it pulls off the heist. Your immune system revs up to fight the virus, and it creates these amazing antibodies that are perfectly designed to hunt down that viral protein, which is called eBNA1. But here's the kicker. Your brain has its own protein, called glial-cam, that looks just like it. So the immune system gets confused. Those same antibodies that are supposed to be fighting the virus start attacking the myelin in your brain, thinking they're still fighting the bad guy.
But a prime suspect rarely acts alone. An EBV infection doesn't just automatically mean you get MS. Other things have to be in place for the attack to actually happen. So now, let's look at the accomplices, starting with what happens when a crucial immune system peacekeeper is missing in action.
We usually hear about vitamin D and think, oh yeah, that's for bone health, right? But inside the immune system, it's playing a totally different game. It's not just a nutrient. It's a seriously powerful immunomodulator. You should think of it as the immune system's top cop, the one responsible for keeping everything in balance and under control. And you can see that beautiful balancing act right here. On one side, vitamin D tells the aggressive attacker cells, the ones that drive inflammation, to stand down. But on the other side, it boosts the peacemaker cells, the ones whose job it is to tell the immune system to chill out. So when you're low on vitamin D, that crucial regulator is gone, and it leaves the attackers totally unchecked. So what does this actually mean in the real world? Well, research points to an ideal blood level of about 75 to 125 nanomoles per liter. And here's a really fascinating clinical nugget. When it comes to reducing relapses, low to medium doses actually seem to work better than huge megadoses. It's possible that those really high amounts can just overwhelm the system and make it less effective. Okay, on to our second accomplice. With the immune system's peacekeeper off-duty because of low vitamin D, the stage is now set for something that basically turns your body's own tissue into an inflammation-producing factory. This is a real inside job, and it gets started years, sometimes even decades, before any MS symptoms ever show up.
The data here is pretty stark. Research shows that having a high body mass index, or BMI, during those really critical teenage years, we're talking between 14 and 24, more than doubles your lifetime risk of developing MS. This isn't just a small link, it's a powerful amplifier of your risk.
The key idea here is something called meta-inflammation. In this state, extra body fat isn't just sitting there passively. No, it becomes an active organ, constantly pumping out these low-grade inflammatory signals into your bloodstream. It creates this body-wide environment of chronic, simmering inflammation.
And this is where the long-term danger comes in. When this meta-inflammation is happening during adolescence, which is such a critical time for brain development, it can create what scientists call an epigenetic memory. It basically primes your central nervous system, leaving it stuck in this permanent state of high alert, just ready and waiting to launch a massive inflammatory attack for years and years.
Okay, so we've identified our prime suspect and its key accomplices. And I know, this might all sound a little bit scary or like it's already decided, but it's not. This is where the story pivots toward empowerment, because a lot of these really powerful risk factors are things we can actually control. So let's talk about how to build a defense.
I mean, just look at this evidence. Smoking doesn't just increase your risk, it speeds up the progression to the more severe form of MS by an average of 8 years. A high sodium intake, that's been linked to a 4-fold increase in flare-ups. But look at the flip side. Following an anti-inflammatory diet, something like the Mediterranean diet, has been shown to slash risk by up to 70% in some groups. These aren't small changes, they're absolute game changers.
And this quote right here, it really gets to the very heart of the matter. This isn't about being a passive victim of your genes or just some bad luck. It's about taking this knowledge and using it to actively manage your health, and in a very, very real way, to rewrite your own biological story.
So to recap our whole investigation, MS really kicks off when the EBV virus meets a person who's genetically susceptible. It uses molecular mimicry to fool the immune system into attacking the brain. But the real damage happens when the accomplices get involved. Low vitamin D takes the brakes off the immune system, while that meta-inflammation from the teenage years slams the foot on the accelerator. It's that combination that creates a supercharged inflammatory storm where that initial case of mistaken identity can spiral out of control.
And that brings us to our last and probably most important question. Now that we understand the triggers, the prime suspect, the accomplices, the power really shifts. It puts the focus not just on what can go wrong, but on everything we can do right. So, knowing what you know now, what's the very first step you can take to start building your own defense?